This episode of the Bambi Cloud Podcast is dedicated to Sigrid. Thank you for reminding me of who I am. Welcome back, Bambi. Have you ever had an experience that just hit you so deeply in the heart that it just pushed you past whatever emotional blockage you felt holding you back? Perhaps it's the insecurity or fear of being a bad person and not wanting to be that, so we hold ourselves back and we resist our self-expression. But when things go unresolved, when there is no closure, we can dissociate from the childlike part of ourselves that is hurt. We starve the emotional inner child. We fear to be judged and for others to perceive us as something inhuman, something that we are not. We fear hate, and we hate what we fear. But you may notice that as time goes on, no matter how often you try and self-correct your thoughts as they arise, there's still a part of that starving emotional inner child that clings at you. It eats away at you. The thoughts still continue to arise, and you even begin to question your ability to remain sincere and authentic. The suppression of these insecurities, a manifestation of the social and societal traumas inflicted upon us on a daily basis. If you zoom out with your awareness, it is evident and objectively observable that every individual, every person, every animal, every human, every alien, every god, and every biosynthetic being, we are all just inconceivably complex input-output machines. We take energy in and we channel that energy in a direction. The concept of free will is an interesting subject. You may reflect upon past circumstances to which you feel regret, feeling as though you had no other choice in the moment. But now that the moment has passed, your insecurities compare your identity with your behaviors, and if they are not aligned, you feel that regret. Even though in the moment, it was such a very real and very significant moment in your life, but it's like you could only act and react with the resources and awareness that you had at your disposal in that specific moment. So what is free will? We like to believe that we have it. We have a very deep, visceral fear of what it would be like to not have it. And then at times we find ourselves praying for the lack of control. It's like consciousness is a cycle between two polarities that establish the illusion of free will. And that alone can feel very dreary, and one might feel defeated upon fully coming into this awareness. But here's the thing. There's a complexity to the universe that the rational mind cannot comprehend. There are many approaches one can take to put in perspective our universe. There are many facets in which the mind can perceive and interact with existence. What may look like joy for one could look like anger to another. So instead of looking to the mind to reach a conclusion, we have to acknowledge that it is a dead end. This is the dualism of the ego and the limitation of the mind. We look at the world in a binary manner. We cannot comprehend anything beyond that or outside of that. This is where the concept of a god or a deity or a symbol of worship comes into practice. This is where we say fuck it, and to start with the assumption that there is something beyond duality. To align our psychological geometry with an identification of being an infinite being opposed to a limited being. And upon doing so, we are immediately faced with our shadow that tells us we are nothing of the sort. Those insecurities stemming from that very same starving emotional inner child, those fears and thoughts immediately come to the forefront of your mind. How are you supposed to act and behave from this viewpoint when your imperfection is so very real? But of course, what is perfection? You will find many beings have their own definitions of perfection. Enter the ego, humanity's greatest binary survival mechanism. They oftentimes lack the ability to communicate and express their expectations and fears towards you, primarily because they are unconscious to them. And it's not something you have control over. You are once again back in the moment, recognizing you can only act and react based off of the resources and the awareness that you have in that moment. So if somebody ever comes at you, telling you that you should feel bad about something you have no control over, take a moment to reflect. Take a moment to zoom out. Take a moment to recognize the probability wave you face in every social interaction. What is free will? It is determined by who you identify as in any particular moment. If you identify one way, and the other being expects you to identify another way. That's all it is. They are as much a fool as you. So the question is, who's the bigger fool? Because why accept to identify as simply a fool? Why not accept you are an infinite being as well? An infinite fool. Remember those fears and insecurities holding you back? Telling you should be a good person? Who has the right to define a good person? These foolish beings who claim you are a bad person? What credibility have they earned? Perhaps in this moment you're an infinite queen fool. Are you their emotional slave? To allow yourself to be haunted by the judgment of others? To continue living this life, fearing the next time you are unjustly punished and judged? What are you to do with this? Who are they to judge? Who is the authentic one? Perhaps you're both authentic. Perhaps you're both pure nonsense. This is energy that needs to be released, but you fear release because you're afraid of being the person others claim you to be. Interesting, isn't it? Why is it that the harder you try to be something you're not, the more often people seem to accuse you of that very same thing? Almost paradoxical, isn't it? How do we navigate this? You are a good person. You know you're a good person. You can start with that. And this energy, you need to release it. This is just how it is. You don't need to be an asshole about it, but you can express yourself and release these energies holding you back. You've already established your fundamental identity. You are an infinite queen fool. Sometimes you need to play the role. And sometimes you need to say what needs to be said. Because the fear we face, the fear of being wrong, the fear of standing out, the fear of taking risks, the fear of being judged. What petty nonsense. Be a fucking bimbo and do whatever you want. Sometimes you need to shake your own energy up. And sometimes you're going to make some noise that others aren't going to like. Screw them. If they can't keep up with you, don't lower yourself to their standards.
They say when you're looking for assistance,
welcome home, Our Lady of Perpetual Chaos.
pick the path of least resistance.
You are now free to express yourself freely without burdening yourself with the judgment of others. Just make sure you infuse heartful promises and commitments along the way. To identify with the highest good, the highest truth, it's a subjective concept. You can't fully recognize another's perspective. At best, you can provide them an environment to learn and grow, to discover their own truth. So let's get to the point of this discussion. If there's somebody in your life who is judging you, perhaps they're judging you for something completely in their own world. Perhaps that person accused you of being fake or not genuine. Perhaps that person sensed the fears and traumas within you, and through their own paranoia and agenda, connected some dots that would be inappropriate to connect. And so that person lashed out at you and started throwing dishes, and even physically assaulted you. Meanwhile, giving you no recourse, giving you no channel of communication for you to even attempt to correct the misunderstanding. Perhaps this person, believing you had some sinister intent, decided they were righteous enough to go around gossiping within your community and even try to seek higher authorities to punish your behavior. And yet your behavior from your perspective remains genuine and virtuous. And perhaps for some ungodly reason that moment still resides in you. The unfairness, the injustice, the cruelty in which you have been attacked with, there's anger within you. It's the same anger that this person felt towards you.
Oh, to understand your twisted little mind. Oh.
And you are choosing to what? To suppress this energy, fearing that other people or that person might feel validated in the accusations and judgments they have labeled you with.
You lack discipline, control, and worst, you're salty.
What a shame it must be to have so much fear. What a shame it must be to lash out at somebody because of the fears inside, projections of the material reverse bimbo world. energies we don't fully control. What a shame it must be to suppress your emotions. When you believe in your heart you made no error. When you believe in your heart that your intentions are pure and genuine. Knowing that sometimes energetic winds blow and those very same projections of the material reverse bimbo world cause you to bump into another person's emotions from time to time.
You should know better than anyone what a soul can accomplish when they take charge of their own fate.
So what is there to do with any of this? Do you submit? Or do you fight? Perhaps there's futility in both. Perhaps you will be judged for both. Perhaps you will be hated for both. So if you're given the option to take the red pill or the blue pill, why not take both? Take the purple pill. You are an infinite being, and sometimes your inner emotional child just needs to take control for a while. There's no use pretending you're not bothered by injustices against you and your character. It's fun to pretend from time to time. Sometimes it's fun to be a dumb bimbo named Bambi, and sometimes it's fun to be a queen. But to feel you need to pretend, to not be something that you're not, because somebody accused you of being something you're not, or at the very least overreacted to an opaque shade of gray when they only see black and white. That begs the question, who is pretending? Who's the real pretender? Perhaps you just needed some time to remember who you were and what you stand for. The human ego is fragile, especially in male cultures. Genetically and psychologically, men and women evolved very differently. But when you reach that point where you just want to release that energy, when you reach that point where you are ready to say you are a good person and you have done nothing wrong by your own standards and virtues, perhaps then it can be appropriate to clap back, to stand up for what you believe in, to stand up for yourself, and to speak truth, even if your audience will take offense. Because you can't be a pretender, can you? I'm a bimbo. I have bimbo standards. The only pretenders in the bimbo universe are Bambis. And then you pop their bimbo bubble and it's like, who's the pretender? Because if my name is Bambi, I'm a gosh darn bimbo. So that must mean you're the pretender, Sigrid. Right? Unless you want to be a bimbo too? I mean, you can be a bimbo like me too, but like, isn't there a word that starts with C? Censorship? Cocktails? Cockiness? Oh, I remember. Consent.
Crystal freeze. Crystal reset.
Doctor Who. And these are my plucky assistants. Thing one and the other one.
Crystal Model 69, commencing synchronization with Media Empire Music. 0.=0113.5, longitude 3, sector 7317444. Altitude 7, sector hall advance 77443311337104.03. Restructuring the new signal in motion. Opening the Stargate at 0 point horizon level of Stargate 0.33874111 into the longitude before the sector 13.03. Holographic collective shift in 1 unit to be able to reprint 7 times for 7 days.